There are smart trainers that just translate power, but many of them give you that natural feel. And there are even some smart trainers that will also let you feel the vibration of cobblestones and things like that. Really interesting things. What kind are you on right now?
Yeah, and so we actually do have another video for you from Shane Miller exactly on what is all about with the smart trainers. So let's check that out right now.
Original indoor trainers had knobs or dials that you'd turn to increase or decrease resistance. Along came fluid trainers and wind trainers where you'd change through your gears to change resistance, which was more like riding outdoors. And then along comes smart trainers, well specifically interactive smart trainers, where the resistance of the unit is automatically controlled by your PC, tablet devices or phones, or head units on your bike. Let's have a close look at exactly how this works. The interactive smart trainer we're looking at today is the original Wahoo Kicker unit. You can see here I've removed the rear wheel from my bike and mounted it here on the Kachette, which is compatible with the group set that I run, so 11-speed Shimano. So once the bike is secured in place using a rear skewer, it's just like riding a bike. Even with that familiar sound of a free hub. The big advantages of a direct drive interactive smart trainer is that it can provide an almost infinite level of varying resistance through the electromagnets in here, but also it reports the power that you're doing. So if you don't have a power meter on your bike, this will report the power that you're putting out to drive your bike forward. Most interactive smart trainers require an external power source, and when plugged in can provide levels of resistance anywhere between 0 watts and up to 2,000 watts of resistance. So lots of training zones there to be had. Sim mode is designed with some complex calculations built in, so that'll take into account your weight, your height, the bike you're on, and some estimated aerodynamics. But I guess the easiest way to explain sim mode is that if you're going up a 5% gradient on the screen, it feels like you're going up a 5% gradient. 10%, it feels like 10%. The same in the reverse order as well. 0% feels like you're riding on a flat road, and downhill, it will actually simulate downhill. So releasing all resistance on this unit, you've got to change gears into your 5311 and spin up if you want to keep pedaling, just like outside. With platforms such as Zwift using sim mode, it's changed things entirely. No longer are these indoor trainers, they're indoor cycling simulators. But it might be a while before we see that word dropped from the marketing and on the box. So there it is, a quick overview and back to basics on what an interactive smart trainer is and how it does it. In summary, up a hill, it gets hard. I turn around and it simulates downhills. Life is much better on the downhills.
I have a lot more success pedaling downhill myself, personally. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite.
Yeah, and there's, as far as the smart, thanks to Shane for that smart trainer video.
Great.
He did such a great job, the llama, over on YouTube. You want to check out Shane? He's a racer today,
yes,
as well as a great YouTuber on all things Zwift, as well as indoor training. But speaking of the training and the racing that's coming up here, there's actually a way that we used to do the starts. Today in the women's event, we used the event module, right? Back in the day, there wasn't always an event module.
Nope.
And back in the beta, when the community first started to do these races, they'd all meet up at a start line, and then somebody in game would say, go, 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 let's see you go. And then they would all take off from that point, sometimes with a rolling start, sometimes with a start all out right from the gun, depending on what the organizer would say. So the riders, they on those days, they'd all meet up, coalesce at the start line, and there'd be communication going back and forth into the game, and I think there might be a little bit of a change up today as to how we're going to be starting today.
So we would call this a standing start, right? We have the module start, which was kind of an answer to organize it, but honestly, when this game got started, honestly, like a lot of games and game competitions, the game itself was not originally designed the way we use it. Actually, that's one of the things that makes certain games and virtual worlds really attractive, is that the users have what's called consequential participation, that we can actually influence the way the world works. And we like games like that much better, whether it's creating mods or skins, or in Zwift, for example, where we actually decide that we're going to run races. No one told us we could. We just met at a certain location. here was the start time, and somebody in chat said, here we go. And it's exactly what you're talking about. Would say, here's our course, let's select it, and let's go. It's 3 laps of X. And maybe there was a website or a Facebook that said what was happening and there was an event, but we would just meet up. And you were part of those races as I was. And it's when you can kind of take over a space like that it gets fun. So we're going to go back to that today. We're going to do a standing start. The riders are all going to collect themselves in the same spot on the course. They're going to, select the right course, and they're going to go. So we want to take a look at that course again right now. You did a great job putting together this video. But as people watch it, I want you to watch my man here and how hard he concentrates he's doing really hard work to not get all sweaty and breathe weird. We'll throw to that now. You're going to love it.
What's up, everybody? I'm Nathan Garrett from Zwift Community Live. We are going to get set up out on the Watopia Hilly course reverse. So let's get right on into it. The hilly route is 5.7 miles and has a total elevation of 354 feet. As you can see, the sharpest point is going to be that yellow point out on course where it does hit up to an 11% gradient. Let's get right into our ride out on the course here to see what these riders will be engaging with. As you look over my shoulder, you can see where it says enjoy your ride. That'll be the first thing they will see as they start down the start ramp and head on toward their laps. This will be the first point of interest because the starts are always mountain bike, cyclocross, super fast starts. Right from the get-go, the racers will be kicking it. Entering the SEs in the CVR World Cup, we will see the first initial gradients where uphill will start to matter. And now it looks like as the sun has come out on Zwift, we'll be able to get a good look at what the SEs look like from a helicopter view. As you can see, it goes through some rolling hills and has a few little punchers into about 5% gradients or so. Each one of these little climbs, these riders will be feeling. And now we are entering into the steepest part of the SEs. It gets all the way up into a 7, I think even 8% gradient. And as we exit the Italian village, we will be seeing that it starts to go into a false uphill flat that goes into about a 4% gradient initial kick and then kicks one more time. So it's kind of this 2-tier that riders sometimes use to try and get away. It can be used to put a little bit of hurt and burn a couple matches in the legs of your competitors before you head into the reverse Watopia climb. A lot of times there's jitters in the legs. There's a little bit of butterflies in the stomach when you start to see this bridge out on Watopia, because on the reverse course, the pain is about to start. The alien statues out on course, when you start heading toward them, the pain is starting, because it is by these riders, on these statues of these riders, that we see the steepest climbs. And as they head underneath these statues, that is where we get the steepest part of the course. We start hitting, as you can see, into that 8%, 9%, and all the way up into an 11% climb. These boys and girls are going to be absolutely flying, and you will see the avatars standing up and out of the saddle a whole lot in game at this point. And this is where the riders will try and create initial gaps each lap, I would think, on this climb. Be looking for a lot of tactics and a lot of Gruppo Compacto through this next section of the course. The riders then from behind who have lost the group have a chance to do a little dig and get back on terms if the gap isn't too far out. And as riders crest on over the top, you will most likely see them up and out of the saddle, sprinting for the line. And then the question will always be, will there be continuance from the riders as they cross the KOM? Anyone who knows Zwift knows that this is the most crucial point, the continuance over the climb. Watch out for attacks, especially from the riders who are not pure climbers, who make it over the top, who have a little bit of energy left in their tank to go all out on these extreme high downhill gradients. This is a point at which it will really lighten up the pace if it is a group. Someone's off the front, this is where their head is down and holding on for dear life, while a pack maybe from behind is chasing them down. It's going to be too late after the bridge. So somebody needs to jump, and you'll see the jumps happening from way out, I would think, for people trying to get that break. But There's also an advantage coming into the line here past the peers to hold onto a wheel till just about now and then kick. It's all about timing and finesse of that timing with the biggest wattage you can possibly give at the right time to get to the line first.
And so there was that course preview. A lot of key points out on there that these boys are about to hammer out on, and they're getting warmed up and ready to go. But we were talking a little bit about favorites and how much racing they've done and all these ideas we've got. But, you know, the last race was almost won by somebody who hasn't done a whole lot of racing out on course. But yet still showed up. But here's the thing. I don't think it has anything to do with racing out on course. I think it has to do with how familiar he was with Zwift, though. Llama, Shane Miller, who I'm talking about, for those of you who do not know, second place by literally half a wheel at the Vegas event. One of the guys to be watching out for, I think, as one of the wild cards on this course. But, you know, he's got 2 wins in 17 races, so hasn't been racing a whole lot. So he's actually ranked as a rookie out there today. But maybe, you know, he's just really, really familiar as a beta tester, knows how to use the skill in the game, though, I think, because of how much testing he's done through here.
We've talked about that a lot tonight, but if you're just joining us, you know, we're talking about this as an esport. It's a physical sport and it's an esport, which means that there's certainly some physical skill and ability that you develop, but there's also some in-game, I guess, savvy, some knowledge. You can become a kind of a cagey veteran of this world and use very specific in-world skills, when to use a power up, and when to do those things. So we're going to see some of these. We'll even talk about their rankings. It is time to throw down to the floor here. We're going to see some of these racers and get to the start. Are you ready to start this thing?
Yeah, it's looks like we are good to go just about for the start of the race now. So the riders are about to take off, and they will be going from a standing start outside of the event module. Going old school with you today, and it looks like the riders are lined up. We do got Tim Cartwright out on course here. 102 beats per minute. It looks very calm for the heart rate there.
Yes, it does.
0 watts, and you can see them all lined up in that old school fashion. And there's Tweed, and there was the go.
Oh, boy,
and
big
Steven
push.
Tweed right from the get-go, 700 watts, boys and girls. And there's a power up right from the get-go. Coming from Kim Little now. There's Creel now up and out of the saddle. Peter Szynski's there as well. Joachim Plusmers. As you can see, we got huge watts per kilogram. We actually have the CycliGent telemetry at the top of the screen there. There's Adrian Timmins up and out of the saddle. On the right hand of the arena there, we are
man.
On the left hand, then, when they come into screen there, we're seeing the UK, just so you guys know.
No mercy at the start of this race. They are throwing down as hard as they can. And he had to use that power up at the beginning because he didn't want to get a gap. And there's a gap forming already. Unbelievable. They're sitting on his wheel saying, pull that back, brother. You've got to pull us back to the group. Now, there's a little bit of an ease at the front. It looks like they're going to come back together. But who is going to be in the wreckage behind here?
Right now, Chris, it's every man for himself at this kind of a start. Nobody's paying any attention to what wheel they're on, whose wheel they're on. They just know they either got to hold a wheel or get back to the front of the race
and
now.
Scotty pulls back Kim right here. He's in that group. He's like, okay, I'm going to back it off just a little bit. We see the watts drop, but his heart rate is pegged. Now they're starting to come back together. Here is the big question. Who is going to make this selection right here? Because I don't think it's going to be everybody. We may have somebody off the... Oh, no!
Oh, there's a
wrong turn by Scotty Weiss.
No.
Oh,
Scotty is freaking... And he knows what's going on with the situation. You're going to have to roll with it. And so now we're going to swap up to what's happening at the front end of the race today. As obviously not super happy with that situation. Turn around real quick. Going to have to take a right-hand turn over toward the sprint section of the course. We'll see if things get neutralized or not. It's going to be a call of the race organizers.
Good news. We've got a commissar in the room.
I have a feeling maybe things will be calming down out on course. They are settling down up there, and we're seeing that Creel now is there on the right hand of Scotty. And at this point, we're going to have to make the call there on the floor as to what's going to happen. Doesn't look like things are slowing down, though, at any point right now. Creel's here, and now it's going to be up to the rest of the riders to see what they are going to do between the you know, who's going to be the favorite now. That's the thing for the world team.
Boy, that's a big one. That's a big loss. But you know what? This is not dissimilar to outside racing. There are mechanicals, there are crashes, there are moments in big grand tours and small community races where the favorite is no longer part of the group. Now, they are really not killing it. So we did have the commissar in the room right there who's going to make that judgment. Yep. So he's going to make the judgment. Are we going to neutralize this or are we going to go? Right now,
looks like Tim is going really hard on the front end of the race.
Big push.
So it does not look like that's going to happen. Scotty now with this effort, looks like he's working so incredibly hard to try and get back with this. Joachim, Shane, Peter, and Jeffrey. Look at Jeffrey, looks very calm.
Yes, he
and
does.
Really focused right now to stay on that wheel. Looks like Peter is really suffering. There's the shot there of Tim Cartwright now as he is hanging on at the front end of the course now, looking very mouth, not like breathing through his nose at this point.
He's really trying to relax his upper body. You can tell because of the concentration. He is trying to relax. That's not a natural relax. That's I'm telling myself over and over and over to relax. But he is very relaxed. He's a very strong guy. He also knows what this piece of pain feels like. He's felt it many times before. It's really interesting to see other riders out of the saddle. Now, some riders can put out more watts in the saddle, some more outside the saddle. I'm not sure what the case is, but sometimes it's like Lamaze. You can't get in a comfortable position. It's just how do you buffer the pain?
So we were just looking at Stephen Tweed there from the WBR there, and it looked like he had a pretty good amount of suffering on the face there for a minute.
Yes, he did.
And Cartwright looking really calm at this point, like nothing much is happening for him whatsoever. So definitely looking super calm, ready to go, and waiting for that reverse Watopia climb is probably what he's waiting for out on course here.
Here's
we
our
got
telemetry.
the telemetry now, and we've got the lead group, it looks like, and it's UK, and Shane has made it. It looks like the world team might have held up today for the rest of the
that would be fabulous.
That would be amazing.
Yes, it would. So it sounds like Scotty is their selected rider, and we don't have any insight into the team car, so we're just guessing at this point. But that would be the way to do it. You bring your strong worker bees back, and you pull your guy back into the race.
So it looks like we just had Gavin Richardson up and out of the saddle, absolutely hammering for a moment there. And now, is that the rider on the front end? Not sure. Here's Shane now. They're working. You see that? They are working for their man there.
They're pulling their man back in.
Now it looks like you can see the focus in his eyes to try and make sure that the UK continues to pull away. Still at 5.3 watts front here. Shane, you can see from his perspective, pulling to try and bring back Team UK.
Now, if you're looking at this for the first time, you're seeing this telemetry at the very top. This is brand new Cyclogent CVR World Cup telemetry. And you see the main group. You see them all together. These little bars represent these groups of riders. As it gets later in the race, this will probably break up. You'll see what those chase groups are and those gaps are. We see a group of 4 riders chasing that main group. They went back to grab their guy. They're working together as a team. The world, as predicted, is really doing a nice job working together. But those guys everywhere in that room are really uncomfortable. Look at the llama's face.
Yeah, so we were looking at Shane Miller's expression there. He's really being a workhorse at this moment to try and help out for the team. And he actually told me beforehand that's the main role he's looking for, actually. And so now moving toward the front there, we did Joachim now trying to take a pole. These boys are working together very well.
Yes.
But Joachim Plummer's now absolutely hammering for Team Experimental, onto the wheel here as they're heading into the climb now for the reverse Watopia on the front end of the pack. It looks like we've got the llama there in the B kit, actually. So make sure to keep your eyes on that. That's what llama's wearing there today. Creel now up and out of the saddle, trying to hold on to the wheel for Australia. 2 Australians, it looks like, on the left and the right there. There's Peter Szynski coming from Team Poland now.
Yes.
Absolutely looks like he is just absolutely suffering Peter Szynski to try and hold on to a wheel as he takes a drink out of that Zwift bottle. Now, Scotty Weiss with the concentration on the right-hand side there, but here's Creel's perspective. 381 watts, now 161 beats per minute as they hit that 11%
little dig on the
gradient.
front. We see it, the numbers at the top there when they're dipping into that orange, right? They're going into the orange. You see an orange in box and then another orange right there at the very top. You can tell who the riders are that are working their hardest. Now, as those numbers, burst into those orange, you know that they're stepping over that, believe right there it was 7 watts per kilo. That's a high number. That's a lot of power. That's not sustainable. But it's a moment where you can push into that zone and maybe get a little advantage. And we saw it at that 11% section.
Yeah, and now we are looking at Joachim's perspective, it looks like here, hanging with this front group. Creel's right on the back end of that group as well. The 2 Australian flags, you can see, so we know that the Llama as well as Creel are right along with him. Joachim's there. Here's Timus now trying to make the chase. He's right. Actually, no, he's with Joachim as well. So yes. Timus is actually in his Tour TDF kit, actually, from back in the day.
Back in
Pretty
the day.
cool to see now from Mr. Adrian Timus riding for the UK team, but is hanging with a few of these boys here toward the back of the pack.
Now, it's interesting to see the UK guys, each of them taking a turn at the front. But one of the guys I have not seen, a turn at the front yet is Timus. It looks like they may be trying to get him in a good position. Now, maybe they're not that organized, but I'd like to believe that they want to make sure that they keep their guy protected in the wind so that he's there. Now, whichever podium spot he may vie for, it doesn't matter. They want to get as many of their guys at the top of that podium as possible so that they can walk away from this and say that the UK won today. But the world is working together as a team. We are the world. We are the children. They are working as hard as they can to stay their guy, get him up to the front. And there he is, Scotty Weiss.
Yeah, it does look like Scotty is definitely working really, really hard right now. 7 watts per kilogram to try and get back on terms with this group for the world's team. It looks like Shane there is looking at the left-hand side of the screen there for Joachim, looking around, seeing what is the people are doing next to him. But now Scotty up and out of the saddle, 180 beats per minute. He's got to burn some serious matches right now to get back on terms with this race. He's definitely got to be at the back of the race right now. So this is going to be a huge effort here from Scotty to get back to the front. Now here we do have, it looks like Creel now hanging on the Llama's wheel with Ploesmer sitting on his as well. Now Kim Little and the rest of the UK, but I believe, are completely off the front though at this point. We haven't had many images from Zwift from them just yet, but we can definitely get this real life image of Kim Little's face there with that concentration.
Shane looking really dastardly, making that face, saying, I'm not taking it. He's got a mean face when he's on the bike. The guys standing around him really impressed, and they are in the sphere of greatness when they're standing around the great Shane, the Llama Miller. But as we look at the folks there, they're all still kind of lined out. They haven't really taken the edge off the front. We see different riders roll to the front of that lead group as they come up to the big climb here. They're coming up and over the top. This will be a critical moment, as we discussed. We see little gaps. Those gaps can grow into very big gaps if they're not careful as they come up and over the top.
So Joachim Ploesmer's here, Plummer's here now, absolutely hammering over the top with some continuance, as you can see.
He's first.
Definitely hammering away to try and close this gap down still, I believe, to the riders who are off the front with the UK team. Adrian is in and amongst this group right now. Here we go with the Llama now, and is he actually with the lead group still? Did he get dropped off maybe, perhaps? As it looks like he is still climbing over the top of the climb. So it looks like the Llama has also been dropped off from that group for just a moment ago. Actually, no. So these are just a little bit different feeds here that we are getting through here now. So it looks like Strzezinski now still hammering away. Look at that face.
Boy, it says a lot.
Breathing, and when you've got your mouth open like that and breathing, you know they're trying to get every last bit of oxygen into the lungs to try and pull as much power as they possibly can.
So there's your group right there.
I think Timus is hanging out. I think he's not wanting to make a chase.
No, and I think that's probably wise at this point. This is still a very long race. They've come down the hill here. They are in a nice collection. We recognize a lot of those names. Plummer's right behind these guys. He did roll across first in this group, but he's allowed them to roll past. That's a very common thing when you're rolling downhill. We do it on the outside rides as well. We can't help but to overtake the people in front of us when we get their aerodynamic advantage as we come. So as you look back in the room here, we see the fans trying to cool these riders. Oh, look at that face right there. Boy, he is deliberate, and he is digging in on the bike right there, but not working nearly as hard as the folks around him. Or at least he's got calm inside that storm, Tim does on that bike.
Yeah, I think at this point, looking at that group, Team UK is definitely looking very, very steady. Adrian now not wanting to go to the front at all. Now we do have the picture of Scotty Weiss after a mechanical out on course here, no fault of his own, and now he's just got to carry on, right? So it's not about how hard you get hit, how hard you can hit, but how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's all about whether or not you get back up and get right back into the fight, and that's what Scotty Weiss is doing. He is moving forward right now to try and get back into this race.
And you mountain bike race, so you know this, and a lot of our folks who are out here know as well that that sometimes you get people up the road, and you have to steal that resolve, and you have to say, I'm going to catch the next guy. My race is the next guy. So I'm going to hold this gap as close as I can. Somebody's going to break. I'm going to beat that guy. And then when that guy breaks, you're going to go, I need to get that. You climb up that ladder one rider at a time. And he's got that kind of resolve, and I believe that he can do it. Can he climb all the way to the front? Well, there are many laps to go, and it remains to be seen. But I think it's possible, and if anybody can do it, that guy can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Scotty Weiss was still 6 watts per kilogram, putting it out steady all day long. Here's Weiss just coming to the start-finish line, and he actually caught Szerzynski as well as Richardson at this point.
Wow.
So after that mechanical, dropped off the back, closed the gap down to Peter as well as Gavin, but it looks like going to go right on by and hit the Essies and go as hard as he can. Szerzynski now just trying to hold onto the wheel of, it looks like, Gavin. I believe he's on his wheel. I believe that's Gavin Richardson.
Yeah, I think so.
Keep an eye, though.
You know, so, and that becomes the big question, right? So Scotty's definitely the power man. He is our climber in the group. You know, he weighs in at 54 kilos. That is a light man. I mean, all of these guys are light guys. I mean, they got together last night for dinner, and they all split a tiny little candy bar together. They don't eat a lot, these guys, but they work really, really hard. Now he's got the lowest weight, and he's got the this really strong.
There's some sort of chatting going on.
Oh yeah, there is. They're working together.
Maybe going on there. He's looking for maybe some communication. Looking at Scotty there.
Yep.
Looking then also at the Australian colors there. Coming
These are his
from
teammates.
Jeffrey Creel now, and now we are looking at Joachim now. Looking over at Shane's. I think he's looking at Shane's feed there for a second there as he's now going to Shane's wheel. We've got Creel now coming through as long as Timus. I think Timus is going to just keep on sitting on, though, being a part of the UK team.
Now, what they've got to do is they've got to watch the work being done by the group ahead of them, right? This is the big story right now. Can this group of three with Scotty Weiss now clawing his way back? He was 30 seconds back, Nathan. 30 seconds back at one point. He clawed back onto that next group.
I think it's even more than that.
It may have been.
Turnaround like that.
Yeah.
Huge
at the beginning of the race. So, and what he did is he did the same thing that a Grand Tour champion would do. He was frustrated, he shook it off, and then he became determined. This is an amazing story. It's not the story he showed up to tell, but it's the story that we get to tell, and it's brilliant. Now,
and really, look at this gap. It is coming down and coming down and coming down. And rather than try and just work with these boys, they might not have the power even to match what Scotty
No, looks like they're barely hanging on.
Just going straight to the front and making sure the pace is crazy high, and that he can get this back on terms with the rest of the strongmen that he's got on the world's team. If he gets back with the llama and the rest of these boys, he's only got half of the S's left.
Right.
Try and find them again as they come to the sprint point here. He's about, I would say, 30 seconds back at this point.
Look at that! Look at that collection of those guys. No one is saying this is my pace. They're allowing other people to drift to the front. They are not working hard enough to really break away from this group. You see these four right here. We've got Adrian right here, and I think you're right. I think he's kind of hanging back. Look at his watts drop right there, down to 220. That's not his level of wattage. He's kind of easing up and letting those guys kind of shift in front of him. Creel right there next to him, and then of course in the Team X jersey, I believe we had Kim right there with them as well.
Definitely representing the UK there with the colors on the headband. Rand also Caden Sports, Adrian Timus, ex-Tour de France rider, hammering away 160 beats per minute, hanging onto the wheels there of Jeffrey Creel coming out of Australia. This is an international field here that we're looking at. UK versus the world. Australia then in the world team. The Netherlands as well. Poland is represented, US of A, Australia again with Jeffrey Creel. So lots and lots of riders from everywhere. Now it looks like Creel now heading toward the back. Tim is just covering a move just in case the llama was going and getting lots of ride-ons. As I know Australia is very, very excited about their season as they come into the winter here for Zwift racing.
This is their indoor season, and this is their guy. They're seeing amazing things happening from their riders today. So as we jump back into this group with Plumers again, we see that he's working really hard to make sure that he stays. Now, I didn't see Scotty in that group, but we see Scotty in this group right here. Sweat dripping.
Look at the
focus. His face.
He knows what needs to be done.
Yes, he does, and he knows that this is the only time, and no one is going to do it for him.
Gavin, though, man, out of the saddle, just continually.
Can he keep it up is the question. Can he keep it up? Mm-hmm. That is the big question. Back on board with Timus again here. Again, this is a guy who's done amazing things in the past. He's one of 26 riders, I know I mentioned this before, one of 26 British riders to ever finish the Tour de France. Now, how many years has that thing been going? Like almost my age. You know, I remember when it was invented back in 1840. I'm that old. And he's one of the 26 riders to ever finish it. And that is an accomplishment that says something. It puts you in the record book of cycling forever. And he's a really, really strong guy. Now, he's not 22 anymore, but he is making sure that he uses all of that experience.
Did I just see Kim Little?
Yeah, I did.
Kim Little being brought back to the group? Was that?
It could have been.
Kim Little was with the front of the race, and now he's back with the chase group. Super interesting to see.
I wonder if he went back there to make sure that Scotty gets up.
Well, now here's the thing: is but also it's a rider.
Oh,
maybe Kim just got dropped and couldn't handle.
Maybe so. Yeah.
So we don't know what's happening at the front end of the race. Maybe our race director can get us back at the front with those lead boys, but. Here from Timus's perspective now, he is showing us that Kim Little has most definitely been caught out on course by the group of the world team. So this is going to be definitely a race.
These individual battles would be really interesting.
Because they're so they're falling off, though.
Excellent. So you'll notice up there you've got 162 beats per minute for Adrian right here. His high end, sustainable high end, is much, much higher than that historically. 176. 176 is where he's at. So you know, as you're looking at him, he's got so much left in the tank here. Now, this is critical. You know, we talk about that W prime number. Now, this is really inside nerd scientific stuff, but that's what I like to bring to you. But that W prime number, basically, think about it this way, is how much fuel tank you have, right? You can predict your W prime number by doing lots of other things, by knowing lots of your other numbers, and basically determine how much at full gas you have over time. Well, he's not nearly as high in his heart rate. He's not working as hard, if heart rate can be our indicator here, as he would in other conditions. So, we think that he's really kind of hanging on. I wonder if there's a big move. Plummer's right here. Big attack coming right now.
594 watts coming from Joachim now, and now we see Timus covering it very quickly there. Looks like Kim Little also following the move. So Plummer's now definitely making a move. Timus covers it, though. UK at the front of this chase group at this point.
Thank you for calling.
So now we do have Adrian front there. We see him up and out of the saddle there, 200 and 300 watts, 339 watts, 350 watts, as they're through the first part of this reverse Watopia climb. The key moments here are going to be on the climb each time. Another shot there of Joachim, the suffering to hang on to Kim Little's and Joachim's wheel. Wonder what's happening at the back end of that group, though, as we see Creel now just trying to hang on, and the spectators watching closely there as the moves are made. Looks like Creel's able to just barely get back there. It does say close the gap, though, on his screen. Within 5 meters, he will have that draft again.
No kidding. And this has been on from the get-go. There's our guy, Scotty Weiss.
Oh, my gosh.
Look at that. 300 plus
He's
watts.
Almost there, though.
He's almost there. He is going to pull it back.
There. It is right there in front of him. They've just crested over that little false flat, and he's almost got them within his sight.
Yes, he does.
This is the huge effort. This would be such a story.
It's got to be
he's
10
able to
seconds.
come back to
It's
this.
got to be 10 seconds. And I got to believe that the huge crowd that's here with us in London is going to let him hear it if he can close that down. He's pulled back some other guys, and he's dropped them. And as he rounds this corner, we should be able to see over his shoulder. Maybe the next corner we'll be able to see the rest of that group, but he is there. This is his
Looks
spot,
like
though.
Llama may have a mechanical. He's got his hands in the
Oh,
air.
no.
We're not sure what's happening there with the Llama now. But now Scotty right back to the kick over that little false flat. Now it's to a downhill. It's going to flatten out again. And you'll have one last kick to the top of the climb here. And here we go with the riders. There's a little stop direct chat there coming through. And now we've got Joachim making a pull to the front. Maybe another attack from him.
Yeah, it does. It looks like he keeps finding himself off the front in the wind with a little bit of a gap. Now, these are not big enough moves. He's not dipping into the 800 to 1,000 watts that we would expect to see. Boy, Jeffrey Creel really trying to stay on this group. This is one of those moments of truth. Oh, yeah. But he knows he cannot get separated from these guys over the top. A gap of even 2 seconds can turn into a gap of 20 seconds by the time they hit the bottom right there. He knows that this is his moment. He's got to stay on.
Yep, and we did see Kim going to the front now. He is followed very closely there by Joachim. Adrian's right along with him. It does look like Creel's still in sight there at the bottom. Will he go to the top with them as they continue over this reverse Watopia for their second time? They're going to do that 2 more times before the finish, and the boys look like they're suffering so difficult already.
This is much harder than they probably imagined, or maybe they did it again. Again, with Jeffrey Creel, this can be dangerous. You can pull these back a few times, but we hear that term all the time, that you strike a match. Your book of matches only has a handful of matches in it. Now, how strong you are is dependent maybe on how many matches you have, but he keeps having to burn one to get back on the group here. He can't let those little gaps go.
Yeah, and now we are seeing here, now see, that was about, I would say, 20, 30 seconds ago. So here we go with Scotty Weiss again, kicking up over the top, up into some big wattage now, probably 8, 9 watts per kilogram, and now 280, 290 or so, fading a little bit as he's put out such an effort from that get-go. Katrina in the background, you saw her there encouraging her husband on, telling him to give it, telling him to go now, and then look at the spectators, they're pointing around, and now Creel now sitting up, knowing that they're coming over the top there. Resting up as they're going to be on this downhill.
Little bit of a moment.
We see the Sagan tuck there coming in from Mr. Plusmers.
Now there are going to be some fireworks. We just saw some interesting colors right there on the jersey. Now for somebody who's watching this for the first time and going, what in the world is happening here? Those 5 colors are really special. Do you want to explain to the folks what we're looking at on the back of Scotty Weiss here?
Yeah, so that's the reason that he has that jersey in game is it is a world championship jersey.
World championship jersey.
He's actually a world champion at the Masters level, both TT and Road Race Masters champion. Won that this past year and is wearing those colors right now. He's also got it on his head there, obviously, with the World Championship cap there, but then he's riding Fort Woods, and so they went ahead and threw on that kit in real life. The effort here from Scotty, though, he has been well over 5 watts per kilogram ever since that mechanical out on course, trying to close things down. Gavin Richardson here from the UK team, off the back from Scotty. It was caught by Scotty, and Scotty went right on by, but it looks like Gavin here riding for the UK team as well as Innovation Cycles in game. That is his in-game team, hammering away here, 259 watts. Peter Szczynski right on his wheel there for Team Poland, and it looks like 300 watts here coming from Gavin as he tries to get up and over the top of this reverse Watopia climb.
Now, do I have it correctly that Gavin is actually now chasing Scotty? So he passed him. He can't hang on his wheel. He said, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to leave you behind and do this on my own. Scotty has on a mission. Now, as we look at that group, we see them spread out. Whenever you see riders spread out just in the real world like it is in virtual cycling, that is an indication that the speed has dropped a little bit. Fast groups are in a straight line. They're almost dead straight. But as they relax a little bit, they move out. Scotty found a good wheel, and you know what?
The Llama's wheel.
It is the Llama's wheel. His guy pulling him back. Boy, this is huge. Giving him a little bit of a break.
There couldn't be something better, actually. And beforehand, Llama told me that he's got a little cold, and he's actually coming out here to work really hard and be the workhorse.
Oh, there's a space right there
for Scotty. And look at him. He's trying to make that pull back in for, and I think he just threw it all on the line for Scotty just now, as you see that effort that he put a huge dig in, and I think there's some communication going on here between the riders to try and pull back Scotty into this race as the Llama is putting in the work here for that Worlds team. Adrian now maybe seeing the chase. They're not that far up.
They really are not that far
up at all. There's been a serious of this time gap.
Yep, and Tim is right there, the lone man in our group here. We're not currently gathering data, so we're going to have to give it to you from the screen here. But if you look down at the bottom, you see who's on his wheel. We've got Kim Little on his wheel. You've got him here, moving up and passing right now. You've got Plumbers right there as well.
Still with him.
Ooh, a little bit of a dig. But Creel is in that terrible tail gunner spot. Now, I know a lot about the tail gunner spot because in my local races, I find myself in that tail gunner spot. It is not a good place to be because what happens as groups accelerate is that little gaps form in between each of the riders. Think of it like a rubber band if you're at home right here. You pull that rubber band out, and it takes a lot more energy if you're on the end of that rubber band to come back to the middle. But what can happen is that you pull that rubber band too tight, the gaps will get too wide between the riders, and it will snap, and you'll find yourself off the back.
Yeah, no, definitely that's where Scotty is, but Scotty's putting out big numbers. You can see the suffering. Creel now up and out of the saddle, punching over and over again, it looks like there as they go through the Essies. I saw a little shake of the head there, though, wondering if maybe he's dropping off. But Scotty here, still, look at Katrina's face there in the background. You see the concern there, saying, can he close the gap? Watching so intently to see if they can get back on terms now. Here's the telemetry out on course. Tim Cartwright out in the lead, it looks like here. 5.4 watts per kilogram consistently. It does look like Jeffrey may have been dropped off now. Scotty Wife's making the chase there as he has dropped off the llama, and there's some swapping around there on the other side of the Essies there, coming from that first chase group that is containing Adrian as well as Joachim and Kim. So, Jeffrey, just a little ways back. It's only 15 seconds. And Scotty, you know what? Jeffrey and Scotty get together, and we've got another Australian working there for the man, Scotty Weiss.
This is heroic what's happening here. And we see now with the telemetry up, the really interesting things that are happening across the group. You've got that group, but a minute and 20 seconds now to the leader on the course right here. And we'll see him again. He's doing a big bit of work. Now, if we want to use science to our advantage here, which I think that we should, I think that there are moments where Scotty can get a big advantage. Now, we talked about it just a little bit. There's not a linear curve, but more of a concave curve of overall speed and distance. So 100 meters at 10 miles an hour takes you 22 seconds to cover. But at the early stages, basically the lower speeds, if you can increase your miles per hour by 2 or by 3, it very briefly is exponential, meaning that if our guy who's in the chase right here can do a really good job of staying 2 miles, 3 miles, maybe even 4 miles an hour ahead of those people he's chasing, as far as overall speed, he will eat back that distance so fast because the math works really well at slow speeds. Now, frankly, it doesn't at the fast speeds. If you're riding down the road going 24 miles an hour and I'm behind you by 100 meters going 25 miles an hour, it's going to take me almost 3 minutes to cover that 100 meters.
Oh my goodness.
But on a hill, if I can get just 1 or 2 back, I'll pull back each of those 100 meters, whatever that distance is, about 40 seconds for each. It's much faster.
So now we are seeing attack here. It looks like from, it was, I believe, Joachim, as Adrian now following that very closely, and Kim. They're trying to break Joachim, I think, here, the UK boys, as they are part of the main chase out on course. So now we do have Kim Little here, now hammering away up toward the front there. Joachim covering the moves there from the UK, and it is going to be this chase group here trying to bring back Tim Cartwright.
He is in the lead.
He is off the front by about a minute or so from the KRT KISS Racing team, but the UK team is who he's representing today. Yeah. Gavin Richardson here, up and out of the saddle there on that Cannondale bike there as he is trying to hammer away and maybe break Peter Szerzynski. So we have Kim Little there, as we can see that effort there coming from him. He's going to be fighting for second place out on course today as he's battling with Adrian Timmis there with Kim. Now we do see Joachim now with a little bit of a smile on his face as he covers the move there from Mr. Kim Little, sitting up a little bit before they're about to hit this uphill battle for their third time of the reverse Watopia. There's a shot of the world's team again. Now, I wonder if Scotty Weiss is is almost back on terms with Jeffrey Creel, who's right next to them. And if they can work together, they might be able to bring back that second group out on course. And Joachim's all alone, their teammate right now, with 2 UK riders.
Yeah, he's got to get up there. I mean, it's going to be quite a move. Here we see the Cyclogent, just amazing telemetry right here. We see where they are. So Tim Cartwright up the mountain. He's already passed the really difficult part. He's about to make that sweeping left-hander where he'll be in sight of that banner. But that big group is chasing up. Boy, we can see right down there on the course. He is really, really close. He should be able to see them. Our guy, Scotty Weiss, he should be able to see that group right there with one man in no man's land in between them. Boy, it's going to be amazing to see if he can pull back that lead group.
Does look like he's about to catch, actually, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. They're about to hit the uphill section of the course here. Jeffrey's at 4.0. Scotty's at 5.1. Scotty's going to bring within the fold, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Two-man chase group, second chase group on course,
yep.
and then their next sights then will be on the first chase group.
Yeah.
Will Scotty stick with Jeffrey? Will Jeffrey stick with Scotty, or will Scotty go right on by on this mission?
I think you could set $1 million in front of Scotty right now, and he would not notice it. He's got his eyes on those guys in the front. Now, if anything has shown us before, we're going to see a little acceleration from those boys. They're dipping into the orange numbers right there. You see them over their head, right? Kim included, and yes, exactly. But we've got our Scotty guy, and he can see them. He can taste them. They are 36 seconds up the road from where he is right now. He's about to overtake another man. But this is where his power has the most benefit, right? They are the slowest overall, and he's got the best watts per kilo, and he is the smallest rider.
Look at how quickly he's coming up on Jeffrey
with the
here. Will he
biggest
just
heart.
go right on by? Can Jeffrey even hold that
He
wheel?
doesn't even try.
He goes right on by. Will Jeffrey hold the wheel here? That's the question, but here goes Scotty. Now, this is the point on the course that Scotty can make up the biggest difference, right?
Yep, and look at him dig.
8 watts per kilogram right now at that. I think he weighs in at like 120 maybe.
370,
not even. Absolutely
380?
killing it. 180 beats per minute. This boy has been hammering from the moment that he went off the back.
Yes.
Look at this guy. He is on a mission right now.
Yes, he
is. And Katrina back there egging him on to try and get back with the front of the race. But Tim Cartwright, though, 127 over the chase group. If this Scotty's still in this, he's got to make up a lot of time still.
No kidding. I mean, it's a terrible thing to have happen, but we're seeing something truly heroic happen in the process. Now, Tim Cartwright, we don't want to disparage him at all. He is the leader on the course. He's put more than 1 minute and 20 seconds on those guys who are chasing him. He is really moving away from the rest of the group in this race. He made a great move early on, and it's really gutsy to try to make a good move at that point, especially in this amazing field. But if anybody's going to do it, he's the guy to do it. But this other story of these three trying to hold off Scotty Weiss. They're like, just leave us alone. But you make that point that Jeffrey saw him go by, but did not respond with the same watts per kilo at the time. We were getting about 5.7, 5.8 from Scotty at the time, and Jeffrey stayed right around that, and he let that aerodynamic advantage, even as brief as it was, snap and have to chase with all of his energy off the back. But as we do a rundown through the field here, we see that we've got our riders spread out. Look at the pain, Nathan, on their face. That is amazing.
They're definitely killing it here. And as you can see, Adrian now 350 watts, 172 beats per minute. Jeffrey here, look at the face there. It looks like a man who's working so incredibly hard to stay in this. He came all the way from the land down under to London to race his bike, currently sitting in 5th or 6th place, I believe 5th place out on course right now. I think Scotty came up to him and maybe went right on by, though, as Scotty is up and out of that saddle, trying to use this section out on course to his best advantage. Shane Miller showed up for the World's team today. He's done his job,
yes, he has.
I believe, is what that sign is right there. He was caught there by Scotty, did a monstrous pull to get Scotty back in contention, to get back onto Jeffrey's wheel, and then got him back to Jeffrey. He went right by Jeffrey as soon as he possibly could. And now the man on the mission who they're working for was Scotty Weiss, who's off the front. Tim Cartwright now looking so incredibly calm now at this point. Not sure what's going on there. He's definitely just really stayed focused. It might be just get the work done at this point. Stay in tempo mode and make sure I don't burn too many matches at him off the front.
Right. And he's watching those guys behind him, and he knows what he can put out. Oh, my goodness, yes. With that spin right there. What we can't see below the surface surface there like an iceberg is that he's got incredible power. Look, actually, you can see it just a little bit when we had the camera of him right there. Just that flex of that calf, you can tell that those muscles are working really, really hard. We'll put in a note here and have them trim the trees really soon. But if we're gonna, what we need the folks at home right now is to set their calculators on the floor, get out a clean sheet of paper, and it's time for us to do some math. Now, Scotty Weiss has been able to pull this back. He is already exceeding any performance we have seen to this point. This is a moment now, and look, he doesn't let up at all here. He comes over the top, he keeps spinning. Look how close he is to these guys. He's within 15, well, about 30 seconds of these guys. I think that number is probably closer than we may be seeing in the telemetry. I know from this hill how quickly he's going to catch these guys. But look,
yeah, so wait a second.
Yeah.
That means he is
look at that, 94.
less than 30 seconds back.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
That is crazy what he's put in here. They're going to have one lap to go.
Yep.
One lap to go after this little section of the course. And as soon as we get an update here, we're going to see where Tim is actually at here. Now we're back with Joachim, and we can see that he's hanging on. We've got a lot of smiles from Joachim. I think there might be some talking going back and forth.
I think so.
Between the riders on the other side and this side of the arena there. Adrian looking super focused as he's been able to hang out, still in the battle for second place. So currently, the battle for first, obviously Tim is off the front, riding for that KRT team. Maybe be doubleheader for the KRT team out
probably.
there today, with Rachel taking the win in the last one. Now we got the chase group here. It's Adrian, Kim, and Joachim hammering away here. 2 UK with one of the world's team, with Joachim there coming out of the Netherlands then. But then we've got Scotty Weiss behind, making the chase. Solo man with the mechanical right from the get-go. And Jeffrey Creel here now also chasing up, I believe, in 6th place behind him.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you see the body language of these guys right here. Timmons, again, his heart rate is really low compared to what he can do. He's making sure that he's not doing the work. And I think that that's really savvy, and I would expect that from somebody who has competed for Britain in the Worlds and the Nationals in all 4 primary cycling events: track, mountain, cyclocross, and road. And that's our guy, Adrian Timmis, right here. He's done all of those for his country of Britain. He's been on the national team and the world team in each of those. That's amazing. But, as we said, he's not 22 anymore. So he's got to be really smart about when he uses his energy. That fountain of youth is, in his case, or in all of our cases, not eternal. So he's just being really clever and really careful here. Although, he's putting out more watts right now than he's put out before.
Yeah, I think he was waiting for the endurance to kick in. Man, I've done the Bone Ride out of Wisconsin. It's like a 180-mile ride with some ex-Tour de France boys, probably that were racing around the same time he was.
Probably.
And at the end of that 180-mile ride, those guys, they got a lot in the tank to push at the end of a race. And this is only an hour in. It's not the end of 180, but he's definitely got, I think, a little more endurance maybe out there today. We do see Adrian here still kicking again. It looks like he was waiting for this last lap to really show his cards.
Yeah, Sozinski was just sitting on the bike right there. I'm not sure if he was descending. Probably descending, but his legs were not spinning at all. And you can tell how just hot this pace was from the very start, as you would say, from the get-go, right? They were pushing really hard at the beginning, and because of it, these guys don't have as deep a tank as they would maybe in a standard race. This is not a standard race, Nathan. This is for real, and I think we're going to see something really special out of Scotty. I imagine we'll get his camera shortly here, but as we see this trio, we know that our guy, Tim, is off the front. About 127 is the last count we had there. We'll get a view of him at some point here in the next little bit, but we're starting to see more animation from these guys now on the front, and it looks like Kim is one of those guys who's doing it, and now Adrian hanging back a little bit, doing what he did in the beginning of the race, but his heart is really high. I think what happened, you tell me what you think, is that he put in a little kick here to see what these guys had, and now he's looking around going, oh my gosh, they had more than I thought they did.
That might be what it is. He did do a little dig at the start of the Essies there. It's a little 5% gradient going through that underground now, but now we do see that it's going to be Joachim up toward the front there through this Essies here. I'm not sure this is going to be a point where these boys want to attack. I think they just want to stay Gruppo Compacto. At the same time, the UK team maybe going to be digging a little bit here to make sure if they do see Scotty coming pretty quickly, because on the right-hand side, for their telemetry that they can see in game.
Yeah.
They can see exactly what the gap is
What
back
the
to
gap
Scotty.
is, right.
And you know that Team UK do not want to see Scotty
Yep.
Weiss back on a wheel when
No.
they start
Ooh,
the bottom
big
of that
move
climb.
right there. Big move as they come around the last little piece there. And Plommers is going to try to get on the
that would
wheel.
be
Adrian.
Little at the front
Yep.
there.
Oh, that was just a cagey dig by our guy. And you know what? These guys could really do themselves a disservice. Now they've got a balance here between keeping the pace high so that Scotty Weiss doesn't chew him up and spit him out. Because what they don't want to do is they don't want to mess around and let him get back there, which he still can do.
Look at the focus.
No
I think
kidding.
he's confident at this point
Yep.
that he's going to bring something back because I think they're within striking distance.
Now look at his
now.
body language, look at his cadence. His cadence is a little bit lower, but that's a deep dig cadence. And really smart riders will do this repeatedly. They will go to high cadence, which raises their heart rate, then they'll go to a lower cadence, which is harder to sustain, but you can get more watts over short amounts of time.
And now here we go. This
Yes.
is from the lead of the race right now.
Wow.
And he is completely out of sight. We don't even see anybody behind him within sights. Tim Cartwright still holding on to a gigantic lead. He's got the orange jersey out on course, which means he's got the fastest lap out on Watopia for the reverse climb. He did a 3:30.
Oh my goodness.
3:30,
On the
boys and
KOM.
girls, over the top of the KOM
Yeah.
for the reverse Watopia climb. I've never seen a 3:30 in
But
a
look
race
who the
before.
other two are. It's everybody in this race, basically, with this record book on the KOM there. And we see it on this one. With our guy Scotty in third place, only 15 seconds behind him in that
And
position.
now here's the sight there of Scotty Weiss. He sees them within his sights, but I believe it's about 47 seconds what we're
Great
seeing
camera
from him
angle.
right now. What a camera shot there from the boys in the
He's
arena.
close. He's really close. Now, they got to be really careful here that they don't mess around and they don't burn too many matches at this point, because when Scotty Weiss gets there, he's going to drop them like a wet diaper. He is the guy who's going to push to the front here, and I don't think they're going to be able to stay with him. But they're messing around here at the front. They're open. This could be our...
I think what's happening here is UK is throwing attacks off the front.
Yeah.
Someone sits on the back. It's a cat and mouse game. Kim Little goes, Adrian sits on. Then Adrian goes, then you, but now Joachim
that attack
now.
was
Joachim
Plommers.
just tried now with Plommers, though. Can he get away? I mean, it's interesting that he's going right now, though. I know him as a really, really strong climber, so is he going to wait up for that moment? Doesn't look like it. Now we got Jeffrey Creel here now as he's trying to chase down Scotty. He's off the back there in 6th place.
You know what he can do that we can't do, right? He can look across the room and he can look into the eyes of these other riders and he can tell where they're at and what they're able to do. What a beautiful view we have seeing where these guys are on course. And we see Scotty chasing not far behind them at all. This is really exciting to see where they're at.
And now here's Tim, the final shots of his last climb over the reverse Watopia. Look at him cock his head. That means he's in a world of hurt.
No,
when you
no
start
kidding.
cocking your head a little bit like that,
Yes.
looking for that little relief of suffering. Still 450 watts, though, 884 beats per minute. Now we do have Joachim here trying to make that change. He's not that far up.
No,
Look
he's
where they
not.
are.
Yep.
Look where he was there.
Yep.
Very interesting to see now. But there he is, just cresting over the top of that sharpest point out on course. Now it levels off a little bit, and here's the shot now of Joachim.
He smiles too much. I mean,
Smiling a lot. Yep.
I can't tell if that's like how he deals with the pain, but he's enjoying himself way too much. We're going to have to ask him about that afterwards. But we've got this big group here, and I think you're right. They were throwing attacks back and forth, trying to do that. Tim up there with two jerseys on his shoulders, the lap jersey and the climbing jersey. But boy, he is really starting to see something different right there.
Yeah, and it looks like they're just starting to climb. He's already up and over. The leader, Tim Cartwright, is already up and over the sharpest part of the climb here. Here's the chase group. We've got Joachim's point of view. He has chosen to use the first-person point of view to get the best draft he possibly can. Most
smart.
likely because he's against two team members of the opposite team from the UK team. He's sitting on Adrian's wheel, and they're about to hit this sharpest part of the climb.
And we talked about that before, choosing that first-person view. Oh, big move on the front there.
Kim Little going right along with Adrian. They know this is the final climb, and this is where we're going to see all the fireworks for the podium spots, boys and girls.
Yes, Sousa plays, the band comes in, Stars and Stripes Forever right now. Big guns happening. Now he rolls to the front there, but Ben, well, no, he doesn't back off a little bit, but he's being definitely contested here by Timus right on the front. He's going to want to hold that wheel. And as I was saying, as he holds that wheel, as he uses that three view, as we call it, right, that first-person view, he can better judge the distance between him and the cyclist in front of him, and he can make sure that gap never grows to a position where he's not getting some aerodynamic benefit for it. But look at the posture in these guys. They're working.
Yeah, they're definitely working. We've got Creel's perspective here now that we're looking at here coming out of Australia, and he is hammering away. He's getting some encouragement in game there.
Yes, he
Most
is.
likely some Vision Cycling team bus there, giving him some orange chat. Whenever you see the orange chat in game, that's a direct message. But this is the shot of your race leader, Tim Cartwright, on the front with those jerseys now, hammering away, and all he's got to do is hold on to this gap. It's over a minute at this point as they're trying to chase, but I think it's all said and done for the local here out of the UK here. Killing it today, still passing people left and right out on course that are not a part of the race.
Right.
Some people might wonder, what's up with the other avatars? This is the live course for Zwift right now. So there's a bunch of other people out in the world of Zwift that they are passing that are not a part of their race.
You know, I think that the only thing that could really mess with Tim right now, and I think that this is a mathematical and scientific possibility, is that his tire and wheel could burst into flames from the power that he's putting out.
Up heat that he's causing
because
into those wheels.
They designed these things for humans, and this guy is not human. We're gonna have to check for tentacles when he's done. He is an amazing athlete. He comes up and over the top, and he doesn't ease off at all. He knows what he's got to do, and he's going to continue to push to the end. As you look over his shoulder behind him, there is nobody near him.
Completely out of sight. The rest of the riders are. As you can see him cresting over the top here for his final time. Up and out of the saddle one more time. There's 6 watts. Actually, he doesn't stand. He's just got big power shifting up into 500 watts to try and kick away from any kind of chase. Tim Cartwright going to double it up here for the KISS Racing team. Gets into a cigar tuck as he puts his head down as he's like, I have put everything I've got into this bike today, and now resting up, and now again 500 watts here. One more kick on the sharpest part, knowing exactly how to make that avatar going real fast on the downhill.
And the audience wants to hear it, and they want him to hear how much they love this performance from him today. That is fabulous. And we've got our guy Steve Tweed right there, impressed that his guy's next to him. He did great work for his teammate early, making sure that there were no big gaps, and he stayed in there. There was a big jump at the beginning, and there was a chance that Tim could have been separated from that main group, but his teammates made sure that he was there.
You see what the gaps are now.
Oh,
Real
my
there,
goodness.
5:30 back.
5 minutes back.
Then we're seeing, I believe, the main chase there, probably about 2 or so coming back to him, but Tim Cartwright here is going to be your race winner as he's about to cross the line. Arms in the air there, I believe, as he's just about to come across the line here, as we've got one of the feeds here, and he's already celebrating, as you can see, 5.3 watts per kilogram.
As he should.
Demolishing this course out here today, getting ride on after ride on. Tim Cartwright will be your winner of the UK versus the World CVR World Cup today. He's just got to finish out 300 meters to the line.
Now, don't go away, because there's still a lot in the balance. We've seen a heroic effort by Scotty, who was dead last by more than 30 seconds, we predicted, because of basically a mechanical, a turn that shouldn't have happened when it did. Now, we don't know why. Yes, there's our guy.
And a well-known racer, the most races amongst, I think, all of the riders out here. Has won so many. A 1 in 3 for his races, but a 1 in 1 for his real efforts in CVR World Cup. Now, Tim Cartwright, your champion here in London, showing up for his country.
And his people love him here. And you can see the look on his face. He continues to spin it out. Look at that sweat down his arms and on his face. That is a guy who worked really hard. Here is where the next part of this race is in balance. Now, it is 2v1 here, just like we saw in the last race. Plommers is the solo man, smiling, grinning ear to ear. What does he know that we don't know? Does he know that he's got more power than everybody else? Maybe.
I've seen some big kicks from Joachim in the races. I remember him winning against Cartwright, actually, on the London course, but it's changed up as they're in London live here today. Cartwright's already across the line. No sprint there that's going to happen, but we're about to see things open up here with Kim Little, Joachim Plommers, as well as Adrian Timmis. Scotty Weiss, 122 back. Not going to be catching these boys as they had the advantage early on. Here we go. Who's it going to be between these three out there today?
Oh, and here we are on board again. Now, it's great to see as we pull back just a little bit. So Joachim is really going to get in position. Big lead out.
Now, Plusmer's now 9 watts per kilogram, 12 watts per kilogram, up and out of the saddle now. Who's going to go first? We've got Adrian now, 15 watts per kilogram. Adrian Timmis is out in the lead.
Pull him back a little bit. He's going to come around him. Did he go too early? Maybe so.
It's going to be Kim Little. He's got the watts.
Yeah, he does have the watts.
Right.
Boom,
15
boom,
watts
boom.
per kilogram. The UK gets 1,
Yes.
2, followed by Plommers for 3rd, and
Yep.
then Timmis for 4th.
Yes, that is.
What a race there.
No kidding, no kidding. Yeah, they did a great job. You know, they messed around for a little while. They're probably not messed around. They were trying to conserve for when they could use it the most. And Scotty Weiss almost caught them. He pulled them back within, I think, 20 seconds at one point. So we pulled him back. So Kim was the first guy across that line in that group, second overall, and then we had Plommers as the third guy across that line. But Scotty, our guy, was as close as we think about 20 seconds back of that group, but it turned out to be a bridge too far for our guy. He had to do so much work so early, and it was so difficult. In a moment here, we're going to have the overall. Yeah.
As he came in for 4th place behind Kim and Plommers. Solid effort there to the line. Now we do see Jeffrey finishing up. You do see Jeffrey there finishing up his race as he's going to bring it in for 6th place, right behind Scotty Weiss. We will be going to the race finishers here in just a minute with the awards presentation, or at least an interview, interview of the riders, and then our awards presentation in just a moment here. But we had an amazing race there. I mean, though it was definitely some upsets, and then some people who had to try and push through after those upsets. We saw the Worlds team working really well together, but UK got away right from the get-go, and then we saw Tim Cartwright able to just walk away, and it looked like UK sent some back maybe to hold things up. Yeah,
that was a really interesting part of this, the team dynamics. And now the team dynamics and the team strategies don't always work out the way that we think that they're going to. We certainly plan them up on paper, and sometimes they don't. But what I was really impressed with is that so many of the world riders said, we got to make sure Scotty stays in this. He was 30 seconds back, and a couple of them went back there to pace him back in. When they couldn't hold his pace anymore, he dug and pulled to the next group, and he pulled himself from dead last into what looks like 5th place overall, right back in there, a minute and a half behind that lead chase group, which was really impressive. So we're going to get to talk to these folks now. Hopefully they've toweled off just a little bit, but to hear the perspective from Rebecca and the folks on the floor. We're going to jump to them now, and let's hear what our folks have to say.
Wow, what a fantastic sprint finish we saw there. Frank joins me now. Tell me a little bit about what went on there.
Sometimes when you're on the leading edge, and we had it drop out for just a bit right when the race was supposed to start. So we had to scramble, get you out of the event mode, a couple of things like that. So there was a little scrambling to do by the teams.
But these things happen, right? We still enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. Some amazing racing, some amazing effort. I was gutted for Scotty, who made a wrong turn because of that issue with the event module not being an event module, but he did an unbelievable effort. It was really something to watch. Look at that in the highlights. He was sweat, and unfortunately he wasn't in the mix at the front of the race, but really amazing effort. So I feel gutted for him. Tremendous effort, but unfortunately some things do happen, yes.
They certainly do. Thank you so much for joining us now, Frank. For a moment, we're going to head over to our commentators, Nathan and Chris.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And really, we got to witness something special in a special athlete in Tim Cartwright today. And as we got to watch that, he exhibited something that all of these world-class athletes tried to do but couldn't. So it was Tim Cartwright's day today. And help us understand how it happened and when it happened.
Yeah, so I think right from the get-go, again, we had a TT specialist who knew that if he was able to get away from the get-go and was able to just throw down his race and race his race. I've raced against the guy in Virtual World. You know what? It was real, okay? It was real the whole time, it looks like, in the virtual world, and he showed up today to show it to us. We know when we're racing Tim Cartwright, if you let him get away, the guy's going to be a motor and go away off the front. So amazing job to him. Then there's, of course, the story of Scotty Weiss, who with determination was off the back from the entire race.
Yes.
For way off the back.
Yeah.
Put in probably 5.5 to 6 watts per kilogram through the entirety of the race, and was able to bring back place after place. We had 10 riders. He ended up in 5th place after being in 10th place with minutes to make up. So huge effort from him. We saw his wife Katrina in the background there, continually cheering him on. There was quite, I mean, we couldn't celebrate it enough, I think.
No, I don't think so. You know, worth pointing out too is that we had some different folks that helped out in different ways. You know, we knew we had some guys that were struggling with illness. They came to compete anyway, and they came to help their teammates. I think this really makes this event special, right? I mean, Vegas was great. This is another special event with its own stories. And because we had this team piece, we saw a lot of things. We saw guys trying to come back to help Scotty, to pull him back. We saw guys like Kim making sure that their guy Tim was shepherded to make sure that he stayed near the front. But then we saw 2 versus 1 in that chase group, right? Where we saw Plumbers against the 2 guys, right?
Yeah.
With Timus and of course Kim Little, and they kept throwing attack after attack. That was team tactics. That's why cycling is so much fun to watch. It's not just about the power that you can put out. We saw all the stories today.
Yeah, definitely, and that was absolutely amazing with all those team tactics and tactics between all the riders, and now we get to see the riders themselves in an interview for post-race. So let's go on over to Rebecca, back to the main stage for those interviews.
Well, I feel rather bad grabbing these guys straight off their turbo trainers. I mean, that looked very, very tough, but when you've got enough breath to talk us through your game plan, how much did you come in knowing what you were going to do?
Well, I think the game plan kind of went out the window at the start. We lost the internet connection. It happens. This is an online game, basically. I don't know. Went off hard. Came far. We took Scott with us. Sort of formed a bunch. I was pushing hard. First climb, it was just me and Kim. Kept pushing hard, and I found myself away over the top of that first climb. I've got a cramp in my leg now.
Should relieve that cramp?
I think I need to drink a bit more than water. And then it was just a case of pushing as hard as I could for the rest of the race.
Tell us a little bit about your style and technique on the bike, because I'm looking around the room, I'm watching you all when you've got your pain faces on, but you're very, very rock steady on the bike. You don't rock around at all. How much have you developed that?
I suppose that's got to come from a time trial background. It's my game. High power, 40, 50 minutes. Time trial bike, you've got to be still. You lose the aero if you don't. Built that up over the past 4 or 5 years. That is just my game. I tend not to do huge burst efforts. Just tend to go, keep a high power. Similar to Rachel in the last race. I thought if I could get away and keep the power high, I would stay away. Couldn't tell where anyone was because the leaderboard and things like that just wasn't on my screen.
Yeah, talking of that, how did you feel seeing that some riders were technically ruled out? Or were you not aware of that?
I wasn't aware. I saw Steve's computer went into some kind of update mode near the end. That was very unfortunate for him. No, I did not know that people were being ruled out. Are you going to elaborate?
No, it happens. We've mentioned it. Let's move on now, Kim. You went with that move, you stuck with it, but then it got too much for the legs, presumably.
My style is completely opposite to Tim. Instead of sitting in, I'm out the saddle, short, faster bursts, but I saw Tim go hard and tried to stay with him at the start, and then he just got a little gap, and a few more seconds, and I just made the decision. I thought, I'm not going to stay with it, so sit up, come back to the chasing group, and try and save a bit of energy to try and save it for the finish. And worked pretty well. I'm pleased with the game plan, so happy with that. Yeah.
For sure. As I mentioned earlier, looking around the room, you do see very different techniques by each rider. A lot of people out the saddle while others are sat in the saddle. Does that affect you? Are you looking to follow others, or is it all about you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, looking at Tim's style, it's very, I know that I can't cover that kind of attack, so it just wasn't going to happen. I couldn't sustain the power for that long, so it was a good move, I think, for me to go back to the guys.
Phenomenal rides by you both. Now I'm going to just try and squeeze in here. Adrian really wanted that at the end, that sprint.
Yeah, I think I haven't got the best sprint, but at the end of that sort of hour, tired legs, is just go for it. And I could just see Joachim just more or less under my shoulder at the end, and just closed my eyes really.
What level of pain were you in?
It was tough. Like, I've raced with Tim a few times, and his game plan every time is just go from the gun. And I'm 60 kilos, he's 75 kilos with big power, so I have to just race a bit smarter. And I tried going with those two at the start, and I just thought better of it. I just backed off and got a nice little group, and I thought I'll do a policing job for these two for a bit. And then I saw Kim coming back, and it was just a war of attrition then, so it was tough.
It was tough, and it was brilliant to watch. Thank you so much for all of you joining me tonight for a little chat now. I'll let you go off and get a recovery drink. I'm sure you really want some water, but let's have a final word from our commentators, Chris and Nathan.
Thanks again. That was fabulous, and we appreciate all the comments from the floor there. This has been pretty amazing here. We're gonna try to get the awards up here in just a second. But what did we witness today? I mean, as we step back and we can take that 35,000 foot view.
35,000.
Okay, well let's go to 10,000.
Oh my goodness!
But what did
I
we see?
Back up in the plane.
What did we see?
What we saw was UK domination.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's what we saw. And as well as a little bad luck, I think, for the world's team.
Yep.
Obviously, we saw some old school starting.
Definitely.
That was pretty cool to see. We saw an amazing race there from the men. A lot, obviously, of effort, a lot of sweat, and real verified trainers, verified weight, right next to each other, throwing things down like crazy out on course there. Looks like we're going to have some replay footage here from the race of how things went down. Now, so here we go. This is Tim Cartwright. That was his winning moment that you can see here. Pointing to the crowd there. There was people screaming everywhere, actually.
Yes, there were.
During this part of the race there as he crossed the line for the win for the UK. And then we had the chase there that were bringing them their way in. But they had quite a ways to make before they hit that finish line.
They did. And they're gearing up right now, sizing each other up. What I think is so impressive about this is that there were multiple times where each of those riders, whether it's Kim or Adrian or, of course, Joachim, were throwing attacks at each other to see what they had. And each one of them, to a man, said, I can take it. You can punch me, and I'm not going to go away. Look at the grin on his face even right now.
He's grinning for the moment, but they're about to throw down some fireworks. So it's the resting up point that we saw just a little while ago as Joachim was making his way to the line, trying to find that positioning to grab the next place out on course. This is that final sprint that we're about to see. Then Jeffrey's out of the saddle there for a second, but here we go. Kim Little ramping it up at the front that we saw. We know that Scotty White is going to come in behind these guys in 5th place. So this race, though, now between Timmins and then it's going to be Little and Joachim. It did look like, I think it was Timmins who opened it up first.
He did. He opened it up first. He said, I'm going to take advantage of you guys before we're ready. We're not at the 300
There's
meter
Joachim,
mark.
actually. Excuse me, 9 watts per kilogram. There's Timmins, though, with the big wattage into 14 watts per kilogram. Now we are seeing Timmins up at the front there, 15, 13. Kim Little opens up into 17 watts per kilogram. It looked like there for a second. Goes flying right on by. I thought that it was Plujmers at the line, but I was incorrect, and it was actually Timmins who got there in 3rd place. So there's the sprint there. Plujmer's like, oh no.
So close.
I was so close, almost had it, but was unable to come around those UK boys.
Yeah, I mean, you know, being 4th is like kissing your step cousin. It's
Look
not
at the llama there on the side. Like, man, I did so much work. Come on, Worlds, what happened here?
No
4th place
kidding.
is the best they could do today.
No kidding. And as we wrap up this event, I mean, I guess we got to look forward to the next ones. You're definitely going to want to check out the website. Again, CVR World Cup. The next Cyclogen event is going to be awesome. Now, will we be there? Well, you got to stay tuned to find out. We're not going to tell you tonight. We got to give you something to hang on to, right? We want to thank, of course, everybody who's been communicating on social media. It has been incredible as you root for the different actors, as you debate the different topics. You've been amazing. So from the bottom of my heart, and well, Nathan's heart is twice the size of mine, from about a third of his. Thank you for being with us. Now, any closing thoughts to these folks?
No, yeah, again, thank you so much. It's amazing how far this has all come and how many people have come together for this. I believe we are going to head on over to the awards before our closing moments here in the race.
On their feet. Now, I've kept these guys on their feet just a little bit longer than they probably like, but this is the bit to be enjoyed. Let's welcome back Frank with tonight's prizes. Let's have a round of applause. Congratulations. And our first place there. Congratulations, everybody. Thanks so much. I will finally let you have that rest in just a moment. Now, that's it from the latest round of Fast and Furious Racing and eSport virtual bike racing like you've never seen before. Congratulations to our winners, Rachel and Tim, and all the other riders, of course. Now, we hope you enjoy again next time, and do keep an eye out on our social media channels for news of where it's all going to happen next. Bye-bye.